In this video, we'll be doing the Easter eggs and predictions for Season 7, Episode 9 of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Super War Spoiler Not Caught Up. So the episode's title is finally the episode I've been talking about on the channel for a couple of episodes now. And that was As I have always been. And before this episode actually started airing, I was so confused exactly how it tied to the Chromicons or whatnot or Enoch, because everything that we found out about this episode was the Coulson and Daisy centric episode in a time loop, but we finally understand what it actually is referring to, because in this episode basically a goodbye to Enoch, which we still might see him again in a flashback, but in present day this is officially the final goodbye that we're gonna actually have, and it reminds me of kind of the similar way of how the original Enoch went out, with him sacrificing himself because of this thing that was in his heart, heart area. And that was in season 5, episode 10. So yeah, and I don't know if it was a reference or anything like that, but it just felt very familiar, similar to how he went out the first time. So yeah, and then you have uh the gang talking about exactly what's going on, that they're in a time storm, and they're this many feet away or whatnot, and Deke gives Sousa a nickname, and I had to look it up because I don't know. I'm not sure if this is the right person that he's referring to, but he says, "No, Bugsy, this is real." And Bugsy is apparently a criminal person. I don't know how that relate. He's as far as I understand, he's a bootlegger, like a criminal person. So I don't know how that relates to Sousa in this sense. But comment down below if there's any other Bugsy that I'm not I don't know about. So yeah, but you have uh Daisy figuring out that, oh, they're in a time loop and whatnot because of the experiences she's had already, and that's because, or in the original time loop, uh, she went to Simmons, and that Simmons mentions that, oh, Deke has his cologne, and he's been putting stuff from his time away from the 1983 or 1982 to 1983 everywhere. But then you see this Rubik's cube that he picked up, I guess, and some cologne and whatnot. So yeah, uh, and then you have uh, Coulson explaining exactly what's the situation, and this is where a very unique situation to me. I've seen a lot of time loops and whatnot, but the way that he explains it, that or whatnot, and having two people that know about the time loop, is a very rare that I can't think of. Like most time loops, they have to convince the people that, oh, they're in a time loop, but having another person that actually remembers is unique. Then, but also having her, apparently the main character we followed in the sense, Daisy, uh, if she dies, she forgets the previous loop and she has to start all over again. So it's a very unique situation, and also, I could be also wrong, but also the fact that there's a ticking time clock, ticking time clock, that is going through this mission, where every time that every time they reset the time loop, the Zephyr One goes closer to the wormhole, time storm, whatever you want to call it, and if that happens, they will be destroyed. So there's a ticking time clock that they need to get out of this time loop before they get they die. So that feels very unique as well. I really like how they used their they're explaining this time loop, because it's like I said, it's a very unique one, and it's comparing to the first time loop they originally had back in season 5, where they don't remember any of the previous time loop, but they are in time loop, going back and forth, going back to present day, trying to stop Graviton, failing, then so on and so forth. But they actually don't remember the previous time loop that they're in. So it's kind of like that, but not really. But speaking of the previous time loop, you have Coulson basically explaining what exactly how he wants to explain it, and he says it's like a record skipping, which actually has been used before in a previous episode in the previous time loop season we actually had, and that was with Fitz back in season 5 episode 8 in like the future scenes. I think it was 2022 he said it. But yeah, that same phrase Fitz used to explain what the time loop that they were in. So yeah, and a big part of this episode was that uh, the way that they are trying to figure out how to get out of the time loop is by taking out Diana, the implant that Simmons has, because she might have memories to figure out how to fix the time loop, and Fitz or Simmons doesn't completely believe that they're in a time loop, so Daisy suggests what name any or say any word, any random word, or make up a word or whatnot, and we'll see if I can repeat it or whatnot. And you, of course, Daisy does, and the word is phlebotomin. I want to say that's how to pronounce it, but I'm pretty sure it's not. I cannot pronounce that, but it's a word that the writers used for Buffy the Vampire Slayer that explained like magic or something like that. I don't know exactly if that's what it was, but it was explained in Elizabeth's live stream that she did this week with the writers and directors, or writer, because she was the director of this episode. So yeah, I don't know if that was exactly how he explained it, but it was used in the writers' room and whatnot of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I don't know if I'm the only one, because I felt like I haven't seen anyone actually comment on it, but the way that Simmons died this time, like the very first time, coughing and like whatnot and dying, I really thought it was a fake death. Like, even though it is technically a fake death because the time loop and whatnot, but it felt like an actual fake death, reminding me of season 5 episode 16, where she drank some shots and then faked being dead and having Fitz screaming, but in this case it was Deke screaming. So yeah, that's where it reminded me of. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but that's what it reminded me of. And you have this interaction trying to figure out exactly why someone would kill someone from our team, and you have Coulson say maybe someone was replaced with a Chromicon, and you have May say wouldn't be the first time, of course explaining or referencing the whole entire season so far where people have been replaced with Chromicons, but it's probably also referencing the fact that she's mad that Coulson came back to life as a Chromicon, but it's possible that it could be a way to reference the LMDs, even though they weren't Chromicons, but because May would have experience of being replaced with a robot LMD, so her saying it wouldn't be the first time, it's possible that she was referencing that as well, but I don't know if that is the case. Then you have Sousa mentioning his, like referencing his SSR days, saying that he misses those days because of how like crazy his time is been with this SHIELD team. So yeah, and then you have Coulson and Daisy talking, saying that how he's been dealing with the time loop and his feelings of being a Chromicon robot. And he mentions that he was max headroom for a year, which I referenced. I mentioned that in that 80s episode with Deacon Mac, because he was max headroom at the time. And then you have Coulson mention that I'm gonna watch all my friends die over, or he doesn't like watching his friends die over and over again. But then Daisy refers to, don't you think I would have experience with seeing my friend die over and over again? Obviously referring to Coulson, how he's died so many times over and over again, and he keeps coming back. So you kind of see how she's dealing with. But you have they you have Coulson mention that he's gonna have to see everyone die, everyone he loves die, and grow old and whatnot. And whereas he will never age and basically never die, even though you can die as an LMD Chromicon, as we see in this episode. But you have Coulson says because someone decided I should, which uh possible that it's referencing like Daisy's like instinct of pushing the button, but it also could be referencing like uh, Simmons and Fitz and Enoch for deciding that they should create an LMD Coulson in the first place. But I'm pretty sure in this scene he's referring to Daisy because she was the one that actually pushed the button. So yeah, but you have a scene with Daisy and Sousa where he's actually explaining why he likes Daisy and whatnot, and he actually compares her to Peggy Carter and his experience with her, how she's so headstrong and what's called pretends that she doesn't want to be with anyone, like be with people, but she always ends up with family. So yeah, but Daisy mentions that or says to Sousa, nothing phases you, and it's reminded me of, especially because I just recently watched it, rewatched it, is season 1 episode 15 where Coulson actually says to Daisy or Sky at the time that nothing phases you, but this should phase you. We're talking about uh, how she had alien blood in her system now because of his decision to find out what happened in Tahiti and all that kind of stuff, and the GH325 drug and whatnot. So then you finally come to the big scene in this episode where Enoch is talking to Coulson and Daisy after dying, or is dying, and he's saying that he's feeling lonely. It's been ever since he never really felt lonely until he met this team, and obviously he felt lonely, and we actually seen this after he was uh, after he was basically abandoned or like left behind back in season or episode 2 of the season. He has felt very lonely because, especially in the black and white episode, I think it was episode 4, where whenever someone called him, they did not really care to talk to him except Deke in that instance. So yeah, he's felt very lonely ever since then, even though he's back with his team and whatnot. So, but yeah, and you have the same way that Enoch Enoch said his name when we first met him back in season 4, episode 22, the finale. We didn't actually know his name or anything like that. We just saw a shadow for a few seconds, but he name drops Philip J. Coulson instead of just say Coulson or whatnot. But the way that we were introduced to him back in season 4, the season 4 finale, he said Philip J. Coulson. So we see that there, but then you have him reference again to how Fitz was his best friend, and Daisy's trying to comfort him, saying that you were best friend to us, and whatnot. And you have the title of this episode basically being said but cut off at the time, where he says, "As I have always been," but it was cut off at "been," or always. So yeah, but the final scene of this episode was some people, or a lot of people apparently did not like it. I actually liked it because I actually like the story that's going on with the villains and whatnot. So, but that's just me. But you have Cora and Nathaniel in Afterlife practicing teaching, and Nathaniel's teaching Cora how to like focus her powers and whatnot. And it's very, very similar to how Jai Ying was teaching Daisy back in season 2, episode 17, how to focus her powers with the glasses and whatnot, and they ended up breaking. But in that instance, she was referred to, like, you can cause beautiful things with it, but it's very destructive or something along those lines. But here you just see a very evil, like mean Korra just blasting the glasses. So you can kind of see the differences between Korra and Daisy. So yeah, if I missed any Easter eggs or references, comment down below. So for predictions, I'm gonna actually focus on the actual series finale predictions, and this has actually been a popular theory. So it's not. I'm not really gonna focus too much on it. Is that after this episode, the way that Fitzsimmons was reacting and Enoch saying was my best friend, it feels like Fitz might be dead because you have these whole blocked memories, and like it's possible that the reason she actually has these blocked memories is because she's trying to suppress the memory of Fitz dying, similar to how we find out last season that she's been suppressing all these bad memories, putting it in a box and whatnot. But here you actually had the chips to suppress the memories because it's so bad that she would not be able to focus on the mission of saving the team if she was if she remembered that Fitz is dead. So yeah, and the fact that Enoch actually mentions that he saw the future and your friends will survive but the team will not. It's a possibility. There is a loophole in this situation where, since technically Fitz is not on the team right now, like he's not on this mission, she can Daisy cannot savor this mission with Fitz, because he's not technically there. That he might actually have already been dead, and we're gonna find out later on in the like near the end of the season, like end of the series, that he actually had died. So yeah, but if Fitz is dead, I think it's a possibility that Simmons and Deke will move to Scotland into a castle, similar to how Deke was mentioning back in season 6, episode 9, where he says I can buy any castle, or any castle, somewhere along those lines. And I think they might actually move to Scotland to basically honor his memory, Fitz's memory, if Fitz has died. Like I think Simmons, after this, if Fitz is dead, I think she might actually retire, and like leave Shield officially because of all the bad memories she's actually had throughout at Shield while she's been there. And another person I think will officially retire, because he's mentioned it a couple of times now, back in season 5 and then season 2, is Mac. He's probably, if he finds out that Fitz probably died, he probably would want to retire as well, and probably be best for him, because if they are somehow back in our normal like timeline with Flint and all that good stuff, and all the events from season 1 to season 6 happened, or season 7 happened, then that would mean Flint is still around, and that would give Mac a second chance to become the father that he wanted to be, with Hope the first time, and then the second time in the framework. So yeah, but then you have Coulson. I think he might like sacrifice him, like shut himself down, because he's, like I said, multiple times in the past couple episodes, that he's felt very different, and in this episode he's very, very depressed about wanting or going to be able to see his friends die over, or his friends die, and he cannot do anything about it, and he will like have to live with that. So I think by the end of the series, he might actually shut himself down. But yeah, so going to who I think could be the director. A lot of people think, oh, it's going to be Daisy. I don't think that would be the case. I think actually it could be, the next director would be May. Like, she's been the right-hand man for so many people, for Mac back in season 6, and then Coulson obviously for the whole the rest of the series, is that May's been the right-hand man for the director. So I think it would be time for her to be director. And as for Daisy, I think her natural like ending, obviously it looks like they're gonna deal with Daisy and Sousa being a couple, and people are saying that it seems kind of forced, even though, or not forced, kind of quick for how they're reacting, even though it was a time loop. And technically, like I said, technically with Fitz, uh, there's a technicality is that Sousa has no memory of exactly what was going on this episode with the whole speech comparing her to Peggy Carter or the kiss and whatnot. So they're technically starting off on scratch still. So I think it's possible ability that Daisy will wait until Sousa makes the next move, and then they'll go from there. So technically, it's starting back at like starting back at the very beginning. It's like so, yeah. It's like so, yeah. I can kind of see if them going that way. Like it's technically not actually a relationship yet. It's just showing that they both have feelings for one another, and to see if, where they're gonna go with their feelings if they actually end up together. But I think Daisy's like actual ending would be to restart the Secret Warriors program with the actual help with Yo-Yo, because she was a part of Secret Warriors like she was part of the Secret Warriors in the comics and whatnot, and she was a part of the original Secret Warriors here. But I that doesn't mean that the Yo-Yo and Mac will split up. I know a lot of people ship them. I'm not a shipper, so I don't really care what actually happens. But I do think, like, since she mentions back in season 4 that she wanted to start a family, and then you had Flint arrive back in season 5, and then season 6 again. I do think Mac and Yo-Yo will stay together and actually raise Flint for how many years like they live for. So yeah, I do think she would still be a part of Shield or the Secret Warriors team, but also with staying with Mac. And the last thing I think will happen, because this is the whole like time travel aspect, and like they've already had seen by this point they've already seen the Avengers Endgame. I think there's a possibility that they will have like this Avengers Assemble style like scene where instead of Avengers, obviously it will be like Agents Assemble, where you have our main team, and then you have like the Koenigs, Piper, Deathlock if he shows up back up, and whatnot. Maybe Flint will show up again, but I think since the evil people or the villains are creating their own like supervillain team with superpowers and whatnot, I do think our team will have to have like this giant like team to defeat these people, and we'll have like an Avengers Assemble like scene, so resembling from Endgame. So yeah, comment down below if I missed any Easter eggs or references, like I said before, and if you have any predictions for the upcoming episodes and the series finale. See ya.